All right, so we're waiting for maybe a couple people, but it is a full 2 hours, plus we might need to go an extra 5 minutes because we're gonna feed you subs. So we'll get started. I am Kristen Talbot. I recognize most faces and names here, but just in case, I have not had the pleasure to meet you yet. Great news is that I am not your facilitator today. Dan Nelson is here. If you were here last year for employee engagement training, Dan was the facilitator then. And what we're doing with this session is we're actually taking it to the next level. So last year we talked about engagement. Right now what we're going to spend most of the 2 hours talking about is finding purpose. So why we do what we do. A great way for us to kick that off is actually with we're gonna kind of debut the mission and vision statement. And everybody's like, oh, I remember you guys asked about that like a year ago. So everybody was great about giving us submissions, whether you did personally or whether your branch or your department submitted it. So what we're going to show you now is the final product of the mission and vision statement. I'm going to talk a little bit more about how we arrived at it after I show you a video clip. So right now I'm going to show you some of your coworkers as they talk about the mission statement and what it means to them.
Bruce Elliott, Senior Vice President, Commercial Loan Hub Manager. My role is helping our corporation grow and succeed only if our employees have personal and professional growth, find success and stability in their careers and lives, and our customers succeed in their businesses and organizations that they are involved with. And our corporation grows and succeeds only if our communities succeed, because their success is intertwined with our own, in that we are located in the neighborhoods we serve.
I believe we achieve our mission by teamwork. A team who knows the heartbeat of the community and a team that would be striving for excellence. That's how I believe we achieve our mission. For example, in loan services, we help our lenders processing the loans, so we help our customers at the end to get that loan.
My name is Kyle Vickus. I work out of our Kenosha location. My title is Vice President, specifically focused on commercial and small business banking. Helping small business succeed is very rewarding. Our small businesses provide jobs to other people in our community who are then able to give back in the way of shopping, giving back to local organizations, referrals. You know, the success of our small businesses is the success of our bank because we are a small business.
My name is Alexis Brunner. I am from operations. I am a branch product support coordinator. In my role, I feel I best achieve success when I am able to credit a customer that has dealt with a frustrating and confusing situation as far as a dispute goes. Filing a dispute is a very negative process for the customer, and when we're able to reimburse them and take care of it for them, we can turn it into a positive. Even though I don't work directly with the customers, I'm supporting the branches, and together as a team, we can deliver unmatched customer service.
I'm Nathan Lampy, and I'm the bank manager of the Whitnall location. I define success with Tri-City National Bank by implementing good customer service skills and just being there for your customer. It makes a big difference when they remember you and you remember them. And not only is it about just being there for your customer, it's about being there for your fellow coworkers, just making sure that they're having a positive day as well, and just making sure that you're bringing a positive day to the whole branch every day. And it's really great when the customer also notices that that's what you're doing, when the customer compliments you like, hey guys, it looks like you guys are having a lot of fun back there. You guys all work really great together.
I'm Laura Padilla. I'm a teller supervisor at Lathrop Avenue. I define success as a bank supervisor by having great communication with my staff, leading them by example, providing excellent customer service to have a long-term relationship with their customers, and more importantly, providing my staff a comfortable environment where they can come and enjoy what they do on a daily basis. But if I'm just staying at home, I'm ready to come back to work. I love what I do, so I'm just...
Laura's so cute. Everybody has the mission and vision cards at their table, so that's yours to keep. That's for internal use. On Friday, we will be launching it to the public through our website, so it will appear in the rotating ads on the homepage. So we wanted all of the employees to have a chance and opportunity to hear the mission and vision statement first before we did that. So that's why it will not launch till Friday as far as the website. So the mission statement, back when everybody submitted it, the strategic planning committee was given the great opportunity to come up with the mission and vision statement. So we took everybody's submissions and we spent hours. Bruce can tell you, he was, you know, there. We spent hours, and then we came up with a few that we had. Then there was input from Ron, and then we came back, we worked with it a little bit more and spent more hours on it. And it was a daunting task because we felt like the mission statement had to incorporate everything, but it had to be succinct and it had to be something that everybody could identify with. So in the mission statement is to be the community bank that defines our success by yours. That alone is not just a customer statement. That had to include the fact that we want our employees, which are our #1 asset, to be successful. We wanted both consumer customers and commercial customers to be successful, and we wanted our communities to succeed. When all of those things happen, then we will have achieved our mission. The vision statement, that's always, you know, future forward thinking and something that we're always striving to accomplish, and that is to be the financial partner to our neighbors, building strong communities one relationship at a time. We are a relationship bank. That is what we do. You know, we are moving from on the frontline side, we are moving from transactions to interactions. There's a lot of business development officers in this session. You know that the only way you're getting deals is by building those relationships. And you do that through your connections within the community. So we also want to think of ourselves as the neighborhood bank. You know, we are a community bank. We're a large community bank, but we're still a community bank. And we don't want to think of people as just customers or transactions, but we want to think of them as neighbors. Hopefully you guys all like your neighbors. So that's how we want to work with them. So in order for those things to get accomplished, though, we have to come in each and every day and we have to do what we do, but we have to do it with purpose. So with that, now I'm going to turn it over to Dan, and he is going to spend the next couple hours with you talking about purpose.
Well, Chris, that means she's killing it. That's good stuff. Now we can go. All right, thank you so much. Let me see if hands. We did some engagement sessions last year, and I'm fortunate enough that Kristen asked me to come back and take the next step. But how many people in the room were at the engagement session last year? Raise your hand if you were there. Perfect, perfect. Lots of folks were. And if you remember engagement, what did we talk about, and what is the idea of engagement? It's us as employees and all of our coworkers simply working together to create an environment where we all want to be. Whereas employees, we want to come to work in the morning, and we want to create that environment where our customers want to visit and to continue coming back on a regular basis. That's the whole idea of engagement. It's the idea of fulfilling. And one of the small elements of that last year that we visited about was the idea of purpose. And so this year I want to come back and just expand on that idea of purpose a little bit, and making connections with the organization. And really, guys, what that comes down to is purpose is simply defining for us, why do we as Tri-City National Bank exist? What is our purpose and how do we serve? But by the same token, what is each one of our purposes here within the organization? What's expected of us? What do we want to deliver? And who are we going to do that for? So purpose is going to be our theme, and it's going to be our focus today. Now, that being said, I really appreciated what Kristen said, because I am truly going to be a facilitator, The way that this is going to work is I'm going to put you in groups. I'm going to put you in teams about 7 or 8 times today, because it really is about you discussing different items. It's about you making decisions. It's about you coming to conclusions. It's about you defining different things, because at the end, we can go ahead and pull all of that together and realize, you know what, here's our purpose, and this is my place within the organization, and this is what I can do to make things better. So it's really about you involving yourself in your group and you involving yourself in the greater discussion, because the better we do that, the more successful we are at the end. Now, that being said, I am going to put you in your teams for the first time, okay? And we're just going to make it easy. Your team is going to be the folks at your table, all right? And if you want to go ahead and open up your book to page number 1, this is how I'm going to have you start. One at a time at your table, simply go around and introduce yourself. Let everybody know your name. Let everybody know the branch or the facility you work at. And let everybody know what exactly it is that you do here at the bank. Then after that, here's where it's important. I want you to share a story, and your story is going to be this. What is the best thing that you have ever done for a customer here at Tri-City National Bank? What's the best thing you've done for a customer? And I understand we've got a varied group of people here in the room. So for some of you, customers may simply mean folks on the outside that visit us to do business with us. That might be your customer. For other folks here, your customer might be the coworkers that you work with, right? It's either internal or external, I understand that, but come up with a story on what's the best thing I've ever done for a customer, and then simply share after that, why did you do that? Why did you do it? And then secondly, how did you feel about it when you were done? Fair enough? Introduce yourself, share a story about the best thing you've ever done for a customer, and let folks know why you did it and how you felt about it. And we'll come back in a couple minutes and I'll pick some folks out of the group to share with everybody. All right, go.
How about you? All right. It was integral. Maybe got the money back last time. It was still good. Okay. Your docs, go figure it out.
All right, let's go ahead and pull it back together. And what I would like to do is have a couple of folks share with a larger group. And here's a good story over here. I would love to hear from Tom. The best thing you've ever done for a customer.
It was about a year and a half ago. We had the relief refi bonanza, and we would call customers, and as I called the customer, she immediately started crying on the phone because her home was going into foreclosure. And when it was all said and done, I was able to save her about $350. So when she came in and signed all the papers, she was able to keep her house, and she's made her payments ever since, and I saved her $350 a month on her relief refi, and it cost her very little money. And she didn't even know, she was just speechless. She just didn't know what to say because she thought she had to move, and so it was very rewarding to see how she reacted for just the way I look at it, just helping her out, just doing my job and trying to save her some money. Just so doing the cold calls worked, because we were at our branch one night and we ordered pizza and had some people from West Dallas and Tulsa, and we had just a little call-in session, and it actually worked out really well.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. That is good stuff. Bruce, would you mind sharing your story?
Okay, my story was last fall. An elderly customer who's been a long-time customer came into the branch, a retail customer, was telling me his gutters were clogged and he wasn't sure if he can get up and down the ladder. Well, the next Saturday I was on a ladder cleaning out his gutters and putting in the gutter guards. So that felt me. Yeah, I fancy myself a carpenter, but it's a little bit more of a handyman. So it was cool.
That's very cool. Okay, I forgot to get Tom. Knuckle it up. Nice job, Tom. Let's hear one more. I love the stories you're already telling, and we have another one. Kristen is going to also tell a story.
This story is actually Brian Morrison's from a couple sessions ago, and it was just too classic to not tell again. So for those of you that know Brian Morrison, he is just the most patient person, and he was filling in for Nicole. Whenever Nicole at the call center has to take, either be on vacation or take a lunch break, he covers for her if the calls get to the point where they need to escalate to his level. So the call center had their hands full with the person on the phone that was trying to get into their online banking and having some trouble. So Brian ended up taking the call, and the customer wouldn't give it a name or account number at first. Brian always tries to get that. And so he said, I have my temporary password, but I just can't get in. So Brian just kept working with them for 15 to 20 minutes about getting this password situation corrected so he could get into online banking. So finally, the guy says he's into his online banking after 20 minutes. And Brian said, hey, I would really appreciate if I could just get your name and account number, for our log purposes. And so he gives it to him. Brian types it in, cannot find this person in the system whatsoever. So he just says, by the way, where are you calling from? And he names this place in Pennsylvania. And then he said, and what bank are you calling? And the guy said, not even a bank customer. Doesn't bank with us whatsoever. But Brian was still patient enough to get this person into his online banking with some other bank completely. So that just kind of goes to the fact that Brian is very patient and just focused on solving this person's problem, even though they aren't a customer. So
Yeah.
So and Brian's very humble. So he's not the type of person that would do this, but he was so ramped up about this that he went and he was telling people, you know how awesome I am? This is what I just did.
I like that. I like it a lot. And those are great stories. And as I went around the room, I got to hear a lot of examples of things that we do for customers really on a regular basis. Sometimes they get to be big, some of the big things that you shared, but most of the time they're small things that we do on a regular and consistent basis. And it's those things that get us a lot closer to the idea of purpose. What is the purpose of Tri-City National Bank, and what is the purpose of my job here, right? And living it out. But before we get too far into it, before we get too far into defining it, I want to just take a step back a little bit, and I'll have you turn to page number 2. Let's look at traditionally how purpose is defined. And really, it can start with Peter Drucker. And a lot of you might know, if you had a management class in either high school or you've had a management class in college, you might be familiar with him. And he is actually known as the father of modern management theory. Okay, so a lot of the things that he has defined, a lot of the systems that he has come up with are still in place today and are actually used today. But if you go back to it and say, all right, how does Peter Drucker define purpose for an organization? He would say that the purpose of those businesses is to create and keep a customer. To create and keep a customer. And in 2015, those organizations that think outside the box and have a little bit different focus, I'm not sure they would agree with that, and I'm not sure that I would agree with that. What I want to do is I take that, the purpose of business to create and to keep a customer, and I want to judge it against one of my favorite banking movies of all time. Favorite banking movie of all time, It's a Wonderful Life. Remember that movie? You've seen it? It's a Wonderful Life, right? It may be the only movie ever made that portrays bankers in a positive light. Is that not true? Because you have two different bankers. You have two different folks in there. You have Mr. Potter, and then you have George Bailey. And they look at life differently. And I think Mr. Potter would agree with, you know what, my purpose is simply to create and to go ahead and keep customers. Here's a clip from the movie.
Guaranteed the bank sufficient funds to meet their needs. They will close up for a week and then reopen. I may lose a fortune, but I am willing to guarantee your people too. Just tell them to bring their shares over here and I will pay 50 cents on the dollar.
Oh, you never miss a trick, do you, Potter? Or you're going to miss this one.
If you close your doors before 6 p.m., you will never reopen.
I really like that. And you could see it. And I would tell you that Mr. Potter believes in creating and keeping customers, but he does it for the end of profit. I simply want to have them so that I have a profit base, right? And it doesn't really matter how I get them, and it doesn't really matter how I keep them. My intention is just to do that. And again, I'm not sure that's right. I'm not sure that the bottom line can always be profit. So what I want to do is let's just explore the idea of purpose a little bit farther, and let's see how some other folks define it, okay? Because I know that there are a lot more intelligent people, there are a lot more famous people, there are a lot smarter people that have defined it, but what I wanted to do was pull together some of those definitions and see if there aren't one or two that you might connect with and say, yeah, this makes sense to me, this is good purpose. And you can see them on page number 3, okay? And what we'll do here is I'll start right here with Sarita. And Sarita, would you mind reading that definition on the top and then letting us know who said it?
The meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away. Pablo Picasso, he's an artist and a designer.
Right. The purpose is to give away your gifts. I like that, and it's a theme that's going to go ahead and come back. Let's just to be fair, Lori, would you read the second definition that's there?
We must have a theme, a goal, a purpose in our lives. If you don't know where you're aiming, you don't have a goal. My goal is to live my life in such a way that when I die, someone can say she cared.
I like that for purpose. When I die, someone can say that you cared. I think that is a great purpose. The third definition over here, Ivan, I'll have you read that out loud, please.
More people fail through lack of purpose than lack of talent. Billy Sunday, baseball player and evangelist.
I really like that one. It helps to create a focus on purpose, because we can have lots of skills and talents and abilities, but if we don't know why we're using that and we don't know why we're going, we might not always get there. So that one to me is quite powerful. The next one, we'll move over here. Sherry, would you mind reading the next definition?
Purpose is your moral DNA. It's what you believe without having to think. It's the answer you give when you ask for the right, as opposed to the factually correct answer.
This one is big to me. Oop, I'm sorry. I cut you off. Would you mind reading his name out loud, please?
Nikos Morkigionis.
I didn't get that last name. Would you read it again?
Morkigionis. Something like that.
I do. This is another theme that we're going to get to that I really like, but purpose is part of your DNA. It's just naturally what you do, particularly answers that you give. It's an honest answer. It's not simply looking at a customer and saying, this is our policy. It's not looking at a customer and say, well, this is what they do in the bank, instead of defining it as what we do in the bank, right? It's the honest answer we give to the customer because we care about the customer and we understand our purpose. I like that one a lot. The last one on here, Amber, would you read the last definition out loud?
Profit is not legitimate purpose of business. The legitimate purpose of business is to provide a product or service that people need and do it so well that it's profitable.
It's nice. Provide something that people really need to understand the individual. And by doing it and doing it well, we create profitability for ourselves. I like them, and I hope that there were one or two of those that you looked at and said, yeah, that makes sense to me. But for me, when I start looking at the purpose of the organization, I kind of took all of those definitions and I pulled them together, and I looked at what some other people had said, and I thought, for me to define it, and to pull in the elements that make it important, I kind of think that purpose is simply recognizing and finding your gifts and talents and using them to make the people and situations around you better. Using your gifts and your skills and your talents to make the people and the situations around you better. That sounds like purpose to me. That sounds like something that as employees of an organization we can latch on to if the organization says, this is what I believe. I think it makes sense. And if you go back and measure that against my favorite story, It's a Wonderful Life, the movie there, we get to George Bailey. And here's how George Bailey looks at life.
All right, now, Mr. Thompson, how much do you want? What did you know? You don't mind about that. How much do you loan?
I can loan this money all right. And I'll sign the paper.
You don't have to sign anything. I know you pay when you can. That's okay. All right, Miss Davis?
Could I have 1750?
I like it. So what we're going to do is we're going to start kissing customers more, all right? Look at Omar in the back. Thumbs up. I do. You can just see the contrast. You have Mr. Potter focusing on creating and keeping customers with profit being the bottom line. And then you've got George Bailey from the Bailey Brothers Savings and Loan, who really is using the gifts and the talents, his cares for the community to make the people and the situations around him better. And I think that gets us a lot closer to the idea of purpose. Now, organizations that focus on purpose, they can do something bigger. We can do something better. And I just kind of want to take you back to the profit and the service chain model, and I want to show you what most organizations do and then contrast it with the way that we see things at the bank. Now, traditionally, organizations, what they will do is they will say, our purpose is profit, and that's where we start. We need to be profitable, and we need to make sure that we bring in a lot of revenue. Again, not a terrible thing, but it can't be your purpose or your focus, because what happens is you start to work backward and say, all right, how can we be the most profitable? Well, we need to get customer loyalty. If we can get customer loyalty, we can build off of that by ensuring that our employees enjoy what they're doing and that they stay longer and that they're more productive. And then you reach back. Okay? And that makes sense. I'm not saying it doesn't make sense, but you're missing that key ingredient or that key element, and that's the people that you already have within the organization. If you start at the point where you say, we want to focus on purpose, we're going to clearly define the purpose of Tri-City National Bank, and we're going to define the purpose of employees in that bank, and we all have something to identify with and strive toward. Then what happens is we as employees are more satisfied with our job. We're more satisfied with the connections that we make here, and in turn we create happier customers that want to stay longer, and then ultimately higher profit and higher revenue from the bank. But it's more successful when you turn this around and you start with us as employees and clearly define our purpose and our vision. I like it. And this isn't just some ethereal thought that's out there saying that, you know what, purpose is nice. You know what, purpose is really valuable. If you turn to page number 5, you can kind of look over this as I'm talking, but here's what the research tells us. This is what we know. Organizations that focus in on purpose, number one, they have an identity. And that identity helps them through the tougher times. When we're struggling as an organization a little bit, we have that purpose out there that's defined for us so we can reach toward that. It can help pull us through. I like that. And you can see in there, organizations have been able to do it. But number two, and importantly, those organizations are more profitable than those that don't worry about purpose. Right? We're more profitable, and I'll touch on that again in a moment. But not only that, the employees tend to be more engaged. Organizations with a purpose have employees that are more engaged. They want to come into work, they want to do right by their customers, and they create an environment where their coworkers want to be, simply by focusing in on the purpose that we have for each other. And then finally, we have growth in those organizations. I can sum it up with Jim Stengel. He wrote the book Grow, and what he found out is organizations that do focus in on purpose, they had returns 4 to 8 times that of the Standard & Poor's average. It's back to profitability. It's back to revenue. Flip it on its head. Don't start with revenue. Start with purpose. Start with focus, and you'll get there. And you'll get there in spades. I think it makes a lot of sense. What we want to do then is we want to begin to define what is the purpose of Tri-City National Bank. And in just a couple minutes, I'm going to put you in your groups with the folks at your table so that you can work on creating that definition. So you can work on creating what you believe is the purpose of the bank. But we're going to kind of step back before we start that. And what I want to do is tell you about the book Start With Why. And Simon Sinek wrote this book. And basically what he does is tells you that for a long time, traditionally, businesses and organizations have had a way to define themselves. And they've always started with what it is that they do. So we start at the outside of the circle and then we move our way in. And for any of us, the what is pretty easy. It's simply, what do you do? What types of products do you create? What type of services you deliver? And for any of us, that's easy. Particularly for us at the bank, we deliver financial products and services, right? So what we do is clear. Then organizations traditionally go ahead and get to the how. How is it that we do it? And this is where we begin to separate ourselves a little bit. What are we doing differently in delivering those products and services to our competitors? What makes us stand apart and give us a competitive advantage? Now go back to traditionally. Now organizations in the middle and the why, and they would simply tell you, why are we doing it? So that we can be profitable. Okay? So we can be profitable. But what Simon goes on to tell us is that organizations that do really, really well have turned this model on its head, and what they do is they start with the why and then move their way out. Why is it that we do what we do? What are our core beliefs, and what do we know to be our purpose? And once we determine that, then we can go ahead and work our way out. The example that he goes back to is Apple Computers. And you know that Apple Computers is the most successful company in the world right now. They have the highest value, right? Not only that, but I'll just ask it simply. How many people in here have at least one Apple device? Raise your hand up if you do. That's success, right? Very successful. Now, if you try to put Apple into a traditional model of defining themselves, here's what you get, and it's on page number 6. Look at the bottom. Traditionally, what, how, why, if you put them in that model, Apple would say, we make great computers. That's what we do. How do we do it? They're beautifully designed, simple to use, and they are user-friendly. Okay? Why do you do it? To make profit. Do you want to buy one? That's a traditional model, and I would say if Apple operated that way, not all of you would have their devices, because that's the standard way of thinking. That's the way it was always done before Apple came on the scene. But we know Apple does things differently. They have a different purpose and a different way of looking at things. They're an organization that starts with their why, their purpose and beliefs, and works out. And you can see it in action on page number 7. Start with the why. The purpose for them is here. Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. That's their purpose. It's what they're all about. Now, how do they do it? The way we challenge the status quo is by making our computers beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Then they get to the what. We make great computers. Do you want to buy one? That's what we as consumers can pick up on. We understand their belief. We know that you challenge the status quo. We know that you think differently. And because you do that, we can latch onto it. And we understand the beauty of what it is you create. Those computers, those gadgets, those devices that make our life better and easier. And we have them because you thought outside the box. You started with your purpose and then you worked outward. Right? So that pivotal question, the pivotal question for us is simply that why? Why? And I want you guys to define it, right? Why do we do what we do at Tri-City National Bank? What is our purpose? And I'm going to have you use the 5 whys technique to determine that, okay? Jump to page number 8 and I'll explain in a moment. The technique is simply used by people to either answer a question or solve a problem. And all you do is you ask that first question or you identify what the problem is, right? And then you ask yourself, why do we have that problem? Or why do we need to solve that question? And then you come up with an answer. And when you come up with an answer, you turn that answer back into another question, another why question, and you ask it out loud. And you continue that process until you come to a resolution or you solve the problem or you answer the question. That makes sense, right? It's easier than it sounds. An example is on page number 9, if you follow me over there. This is a printing company. Here is their problem. Your client is refusing to pay for the leaflets you printed for them. Why? The delivery was late, so the leaflets couldn't be used. Well, why was the delivery late? Because the job took longer than we anticipated. Why did the job take longer than we anticipated? We ran out of printer ink. Why did we run out of printer ink? The ink was all used up on a big last-minute order. Why was all the ink used up? We didn't have enough in stock and we couldn't order it in quickly enough. So what is the solution? We need to find a supplier who can deliver ink in very short notice. Keep asking why until you get to the resolution. What I want you to do is turn to page number 10. And the question that we're going to start with on page number 10 is simply, why does Tri-City National Bank exist? That's the question I'm going to have you start with. And what I want you to do is simply take notes on your page number 10, but you're going to find at all of the tables we have some loose sheets of paper. So then when you're done with the activity, make sure that you fill out your loose sheets of paper so that you can hand those in later, because we as an organization, we want to take a look at what do you think is the purpose of Tri-City National Bank and how can we incorporate that into what we do. So it's important that you fill out the sheet. And what will happen is when you're all finished, I'm simply going to go around the room and I want each table to reveal what they found. And so you'll just simply tell us the conclusion you reached at the bottom, and that is simply what is the purpose of Tri-City National Bank, okay? So every table is going to do that. Fair enough? Y'all ready? Go. Let's go ahead and do this, all right? I'll go around to each individual table, and you state out loud what the purpose is for Tri-City National Bank that your group arrived at, and I will start right over here. Sharon.
Yay.
Loud and proud.
We started with our...
No, I'm sorry. Just read off the purpose that you defined at the bottom, your last answer.
Okay. Well, we pretty much ended with our mission statement is to be the best community bank that defines our success by yours.
You know what, I really like that, okay? And it's happened in several groups, and when it does, I think a light turns on and a bell goes off, because a lot of people get back to right where we started from, to either our mission statement or our vision statement, because that really does help to define our purpose. And just for my sake, would you read it out loud one more time?
To be the community bank that defines our success by yours.
So really our purpose is to create successful customers and to create successful communities, because when we know we do that, in turn our organization will have success. Love it. Thank you for sharing. How about over here? Shannon, what do you got?
To be the most effective community bank that we can be as possible.
Okay. To be the most effective community bank that we can be as possible. And I would say there's one more why there. Why do we want to be the most effective community bank as possible? So that our customers are successful and we in turn are successful. Will you take that from me?
Correct.
That's right. It's like I'm up here, you're down there, you got no choice. I like it. How about my team over here? Carolina?
Okay, so being the best financial institution in our community.
And why do we want to be the best financial institution in our community? So we have successful customers.
So we have successful customers.
Perfect, I love that.
It's providing advice and service to our customers and offering individualized products that leads us to become their trusted advisor. I came up with that all by myself.
That was beautiful. It was beautiful.
You could have said any better yourself.
I was like, I couldn't have said that any better myself. I like that. It's. I could sit here and say that I really, really like that, and I do because I gave that to them. So let's go over here. Sherry, what do you have?
Okay. Provide members of our community and businesses with a variety of products and services to fit their needs and provide financial stability.
That's beautiful, right? And what was really, really nice about that is this group came up with that on their own.
What is a table of ladies versus a table of men?
I'm sorry, Kristen, there were certain things I will not get in the middle of. That is, I like that. Amber, would you mind reading yours for your group?
To provide a solution for customers.
To provide customer solutions. I like that. I like it a lot. How about our team over here? What do we? Sandy. Don't look so enthused.
To care for our individual customers and their needs.
To care for customers and their needs. I like that, guys. I like it a lot. And I like the process. I like how you did it, because a lot of the groups, you struggled a little bit. And you know what? Defining yourselves should be a little bit of a struggle. I like it. When Kristen earlier talked about the mission and vision of the organization, it took a year to come up with, right? And I asked you to define your purpose in about 6 minutes in a group. It is something that's a struggle because it's not necessarily to get there, but I like the place that everybody finished. And the place that everybody finished had the initial focus on the customer. We are here, and our purpose is to focus on the customer, strengthening that customer's situation, right? Growing stronger communities, because when we do that and we do it really, really well, in turn, we as an organization are successful. We in an organization are successful. So what we're going to do now is have lunch.
Weekly.
I want to start touching back. So the last thing that we did is we used our 5 whys technique to really get to the purpose of Tri-City National Bank. And you all came up with your own definition of that. When you boiled it down, it came back to, and the place that we arrived at was, it's about the customer and it's about the customer success. And I don't even want to put him on the spot, but he made the perfect transition for me. And Matt and I were talking while you were getting their lunch, and he said something that I loved. He goes, you know what? It has to be more about platitudes on a wall. And I could not agree with that more, right? Because your purpose has to be more than a platitude on the wall. Your mission has to be more than a platitude on the wall. Your vision has to be more than a platitude on the wall. It can't be something that we look at, guys. What we have to do is make sure that we move from purpose to action. You define what your purpose is. Now we have to make sure that as individuals in an organization, we are living that out, right? And the way to do that, and what I'm going to have you do here in just a moment, is to start thinking about it, to start thinking about your purpose from the customer's perspective. What exactly does it mean to the customer? And the way that I'm going to have you do it is with the activity on page number 11. And again, this is one of those dual activities where take notes on page number 11, but you have a loose sheet of paper at your table that I want you to fill out and be prepared to have in at the end of the, or hand in at the end of the session, okay? And here's simply what you're going to do, all right? You're going to answer this question from the customer's perspective. As a customer, I want a banker that believes in what? As a customer, I want a banker that believes in what? And at the top of page number 11, you can see the first one I filled in, and that's service. Because I, as a customer, want a banker that believes in service. I think that is universally true, and I went ahead and put that down. So what I want you to do is, I want you to talk about it, and I want you to come up with 4 more. But please do not simply think and write down of the first 4 that are top of mind. Create a list, talk about them a little bit, and say, you know what, these are the 4 things we want to add. We think they're important, and we think the customers want us to believe in them. And after we finish that up, we'll take the next step. So don't do the bottom of the page yet, just the top. And I'll give you a few minutes to do that. A lot for doing that. I'm going to have a couple of tables give us some feedback, okay? I want to hear about some of the lists. Rosalina over here, would you mind reading out your list? And remember, what we're answering is, as a customer, I want a banker that believes in what?
We put honesty, integrity, empathy, and promptness.
Honesty, integrity, empathy, and promptness. That is a great list. But would you, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. Sure. You tell me what your group talked about and what you meant by empathy a little bit more?
Like empathy, like, you know, if a customer is going through a situation, they want us to be able to feel and understand them rather than just so cold-hearted.
Yeah.
You know, it makes it better so that if things need to happen in a certain way, like overdraft fees, you know.
Yeah.
You know, if they're going through a hard time, something happened, you know, they want us to be able to understand. I mean, everybody goes through something.
That's perfect. I like that a lot. Thank you. My team over here, who was I going to call on? Emily? Was I calling on you?
I don't know, were you?
I think I was. You know what? I am this close to siding with the dude table.
She gets sassy.
So me and my best interests, relationship building, their employer and the products and themselves.
Okay. One of the things I like, and I wanted to hear their list, is, again, this is the 6th session that we've done this, and that's the first team that said that as a customer, I want a banker that believes in themselves. And I thought that was really cool. And doesn't that mean a lot? When the customer knows that you believe in yourself and the way that you can provide every other thing that you're talking about, I like that a lot from the group. Oh no, let's come over here. Can we get Wes? Wes, would you tell us what you have on your list?
Yeah, we want a banker that believes in me as a customer, believes in the long-term relationship and commitment, a two-way street as far as communication goes, and a banker that, banker that would give the whole picture, good and bad, about the relationship.
I like that list a lot too, and they focused in on something that I haven't heard yet either that I think is really, really important. I need a banker to be able to paint an entire picture for me. And you know that in every situation, you know it. You deal with customers on a daily basis. It's not always the best possible picture. It's not always the rosiest picture. At times there are risks. At times there is some downfall, right? And we need to make sure that when we're involved in that relationship with a customer, they understand it. They understand everything. And I think it takes us right back to that quote at the beginning where we say that our purpose is built into our DNA. Right? It's built into our honesty and giving you the right answer, not just the one you want to hear. And so I love that you guys pulled that back out. I want to take the next step though, and I just want to talk a little bit about why it's important for us to understand our customer's perspective, why it's important for us to understand the customer story. Because you know as well as I do that every customer that comes in, they have their own baggage with them, folks, don't they? And some of their baggage is really, really good, and it's really, really positive. And some of their baggage is negative, and it's weighing them down. And if we really are living out our purpose and we're finding belief and we're finding action, it influences the way that we deal with them. It influences the way that we build a relationship. So what I want to do is I'm just going to show you a quick video about understanding people's stories and the importance of it. And this particular video is an internal training document that I used at Chick-fil-A. And Chick-fil-A is one of those organizations that thinks differently and truly operates on what their purpose is. So let me show you that video and then we'll follow up with some conversation. I do like the video, and it does a couple of things for us. And the very first thing that it does is that it shows us that our customers are more than simply a collection of profit, aren't they? They're more than simply a collection of revenue. What our customers are is a collection of deep and rich stories. Some of them very good, some of them not so good at the moment. So what they need from us as bankers is to believe in them, isn't it? They need for us to believe in them. They need for us to come up alongside them with an attitude that says, I'm going to understand your story. I want to know your story, because if I know your story, if I understand your story, that's when I get to take my skills, my abilities, and my gifts to make you better, to be able to help you, right? And we don't get to that point unless we understand from the beginning that they're an individual and they have individual needs and wants that I as a banker am here to help them with. So I really like that. But it goes back to the idea that I can't fully understand them and I can't help them, I can't make their situation better unless I take action, right? Again, we have to move past platitudes. So what I want you to do is we're going to do the next part of the exercise that you just started. And it's simply going back to page number 11 and your loose leaf handout. And what you're going to do on the bottom of page number 11 is write out your 5 beliefs in that section 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I want you to decide, how do you deliver on that belief? What actions do you take as a banker to show the customer what you believe in? And these have to be concrete actions and concrete ideals. And as a team, I'll give you a few minutes to work through that. I just want to take a minute to go ahead and get a little bit of feedback from some of the groups. And I want to start over here actually with Alyssa. And would you kind of read off a couple of your beliefs and how you would act them out as bankers?
Okay, our first belief is respect, and we deliver on it by being open-minded, appreciating individuality. Another belief is in fairness, by taking time to discuss options and being transparent with customers. We believe in honesty, integrity, accountability. We follow through and admit our mistakes, again with transparency. Also accuracy, listening, communicating, etc.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing. I want to come over here and Stephanie, do you mind reading off some things on your list?
Okay, so we also have respect, and we put, if you kind of listen and like the video said, get their story.
Yeah.
So we know where they're coming from. Another thing is availability. We're open all the time, obviously, 7 days a week, even Sundays till 8 o'clock. And then another belief was patience/compassion. And we kind of said we put ourselves in their shoes sometimes to know where they're coming from. And another belief was communication. If you're clear with the customer, if you make sure to elaborate on common mistakes that have happened in the past, now I'll start to explain opting in and opting out a little more so that they're not upset later. Communication is kind of important in that respect.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and thanks to those two groups. The action is the important part, and what I simply want to do is tell you where we've arrived at, if you look at page number 12, and I'm not going to have you fill this out, but on page number 12, I just want to share where we've gone. We started out with our why, what is our purpose, and you and your groups defined what the purpose of the organization is. And just to be repetitive, we come back to our customers and caring about our customers and concerning ourselves with their success. Now, again, once you get a definition, you have to describe how you're going to act that out and the principles that you're going to live by, right? And you did that in terms of the actions. You said, these are the things that we're going to believe in, and this is how we're going to deliver that belief, deliver on those beliefs to our customers, okay? Because that's obviously important. It's the action component, and you've already hit on the why on the outside, and the why is simply we deliver financial products and services. So really from an organizational perspective, we've done our job and we provided our focus, right? But once an organization has its focus, an organization determines its purpose, its mission, and its value, we have to make sure that each of the employees in the organization also understand that and understand how collectively we can go ahead and act that out and deliver on that larger promise. So let's turn our attention just a little bit to us as individuals. And to do that, I'm going to step back to the engagement session last year and just touch up on a couple of things in a different way. If you look at Daniel Pink in his book Drive, he simply says, if you want to have engaged employees, and that simply means employees, again, who work hard to create an environment where everybody wants to come, whether it's them or their coworkers or the customers. If we want to do that, there are really three things that have to be accomplished, okay? The first one is every employee has to have a bit of autonomy, and that simply means that I control my destiny by my actions. If I'm doing really, really well, I'm going to be rewarded for that. If I am lacking, I'm going to have people that will come up alongside me to help pull me up so that I can continue within the organization. That's the idea of autonomy, right? The second one is mastery, and what mastery means is I need to understand and I need to believe that my job matters. What I come and do here every day matters to customers, to coworkers, and to the organization itself. I'm not just here wasting my time. What I'm doing is making a contribution. The third element that has to be fulfilled to make sure that all of us are engaged in our jobs and in our process is the idea of purpose. And again, the purpose can't be simply, I work at Tri-City National Bank. The purpose can't simply be, I'm here to make money for the bank and the shareholders. That wouldn't make sense. There has to be a higher purpose involved. And to find that and to dig into what is my deeper purpose and how can I connect to my job and how can I connect to the purpose of Tri-City National Bank, there really are 4 questions you can ask. And I like this because this is Jan Bruce from the blog site Mequilibrium. She's really one that outlined these questions, but I'm going to dig into them a little bit deeper and I want you to look at them too. The first question to ask yourself to be engaged and make sure you're connecting with the purpose is simply, how do you define success and am I being successful at my job and successful at reaching purpose every day? So that's the first one, just define success. The second one is, where do you find your inspiration? What inspires you to come into work each day and what inspires you to reach your purpose and do your job the best that you can? The third one, again, one of my favorites, is understanding what your hopes for the community are. What do you want to deliver to the community and how can you and as an organization live that out to make communities better? And then finally, when do you feel aligned or most aligned with your core values? So those things that define you and define who you are, when you're working, when are you most aligned with them? So asking yourself those 4 questions and working hard to live them out. So the first thing that I want to do is I'm going to put you back in your teams again and I'm going to give you one quick task. And that quick task at the top, and only the top of page number 15, is simply come up with a definition of success for employees at Tri-City National Bank. We as employees are successful when what? Okay? And I'm just going to give you 2 or 3 minutes to go ahead and do that and create that definition. All right, that's wonderful. Honestly, and when I was around with groups, thank you for sharing some of that. I want to hear what a couple of people have to say. My team back here, Jesse, how did you define success as a team for employees of Tri-City National Bank?
Success is providing good customer service to our customers to make sure they are happy.
Providing excellent service to customers to make sure they're happy. I love the way that you guys defined them. Phil, over here for this team, what did you guys say?
I got 3 thoughts. Complete assigned and unassigned tasks well. Provide best solutions to situation and problems that fit our clients and or colleagues' needs, and serve our clients well.
I think those are all excellent definitions of success, and I think you do too. I didn't want to spend too much time there on success because it's another one of those things where when you define success for employees, it's another place where you can go back to your branches and you can go back to your groups and your departments and you can think about what success means both to you as employees in that branch and in that group, and then figure out methods to deliver on those, and then also work it to the greater purpose of the organization. I think we can be really effective with it on that level. But what I want to do actually is give each of you a moment to do what I'll just call a self-inventory on success. And I'll have you do that by turning obviously to that page number 16, and right at the top you can see it simply says, I am most proud of my following personal achievements, and I want you to write a few things down. And that can be things that you have done inside the bank, or they can be things that you have done in your personal life. But just put a couple of asterisks or bullet points down on things that you are absolutely most proud of. And then the next section you can see some boxes there, and then just talk about how that impacted you and how that impacted those around you. And I want to let you know, this truly is a self-inventory. I'm not going to call on anybody to share any of this. I'm not going to ask you to show it to somebody else. I simply want you to have a couple of moments to take stock of what you're proud of. And we'll come back in just a couple of moments. You know that, as you're kind of filling it in, we've done a good bit of sessions, and this continues to be
Best one ever.
Exactly. It is the best one ever, and this is always my favorite part, because I know you're not sharing it, and the things that you write down are fantastic, and they really do help to define your success. Everybody in this room is successful simply by what you've written down on that piece of paper. Honest to goodness. And there are so many things that you have to celebrate. And some of them that I looked at, you had these personal achievements that you have made in your life that are fantastic. And others of you have things that you have done inside the bank that are fantastic. Now, I think the key here is simply bridging the two to both your benefit and those that you work with and are around you, because there are things that you have written down that you are very successful at in your personal life. So go ahead and take that hard work that you put into it and that focus and that dedication, and figure out ways to use it when you're in the office and when you're with your customers. And those things that you have done with your customers, that focus and that individualized attention, and those things, move that over into your personal life. How can you use that with your friends and your families and the organizations you can serve? And when you're doing that together, boy, you really hit in on the idea of success. And the other part of it, and I'll tell you, there are so many things in here that should be celebrated. Everybody should be able to stand up and read off their page and have everybody applaud for them, because we're doing great things. But by the same token, it simply shows that each one of us, you have to look for opportunities to celebrate the success of your coworkers in their personal life and in their work life. Look for opportunities to go ahead and celebrate that and come alongside them and make sure that you're cheering those folks on. Cheer them on because of the success that they're having. Because I tell you what, cheering, it works.
Whoa, you're not just going to walk away and give up. You can get that. That's yours. Nobody else. Get in there and give it some heat. That's the one that's there. You get it? Yes.
I do. I love that. Cheering works. We like it when people come up alongside us and cheer us on. And it's valuable when we do that for others. And it's equally valuable when we do it with customers. Page number 17, the second question really comes into identifying inspiration. And this is homework that I'm going to give you. It's something that I want you to do, but you need to do it on your own because it's going to take some time and it's going to take a little bit of thinking, okay? And it's something that's going to be personal to you as well. But it's simply about finding some inspiration. Why is it that you get up? Why is it that you come to work every day? And why is it that you spend so much time and energy focusing in on your customers? And now you get it. There are things out there that inspire you. Your coworkers inspire you. Your customers inspire you. But in this exercise and in this homework, I want you to focus in on your family. I want you to focus in on your children and your parents and your spouses and your significant others and even your friends if you define them as family, right? And I want you to ask yourself a couple of questions, and they're on the top of page number 17. The first one is, how does your family inspire you? How do they inspire you to come in? Think about it a little bit. Write a few things down. And after you've done that, you get to the key, which is the second question. What do they depend on you to do? What do they depend on you to be? Because we all have folks that depend on us. Why is it, and what do they need from you? And how do you fulfill that, and how do you accomplish that when you come to work every day? Think about it and write it down. And then the final question is, how does your work help you meet the goals you have for your family? The goals that you have out there, what you want your family to be, what you want them to become. How is it that what you're doing here at work can help to accomplish that? It's about finding inspiration. If you want to make connections with your purpose for what you're doing here at work and what you're doing with your customers, you get a lot of inspiration by simply thinking of what's my purpose with my family? How do they inspire me to do that? So that's homework. That's homework for you. The next one, to make connections with your job and to make connections with your purpose here, is to really think about your communities. This is another one of my favorite parts of what we get to do. And the reason I put this in is last year when we were here and we were talking about engagement, there were an awful lot of you that talked about the 50 acts of giving back. And those were activities that we involved ourselves with to celebrate our 50th anniversary. But those acts aren't something that just go away. We don't stop doing good stuff because the anniversary celebration is over. We have a CRA committee that meets to talk about what we want to do and what kind of value we want to bring to the communities. So in order to help those committees and to really be able to focus in on what matters to you as employees and what kind of impact you want to have in the community, I'm going to put you back in your teams for the last time, okay? And you have your last individual sheet of paper, and that last sheet of paper says Community Hope, and this is what I simply want you to do. Go around the table and have everybody at the table go ahead and answer this question out loud. Is there a problem in your community that you want to fix? Is there a problem in your community that you want to fix? And then talk a little bit about why. And then on that sheet of paper right next to it, write your name down. Write the name of that person down. And then on the other side of that, if there is an organization in the community that you're involved with that's helping with that problem or you know works with that problem, write it down too. Because now we as a committee, we have both resources and a guide, right? If there are enough of us and we have enough of a focus and an impact, let's go work there. That makes a lot of sense to me. Let's focus in on what you as employees care about. So take a little bit of time, bring out that piece of paper, have everybody answer, problem in your community you want to fix, get your name down next to it in organizations that we can contact or work with. Okay, thank you. Thank you guys. I went around and that's important. I'm so glad that you wrote that down. I'm so glad that we have that on paper again because this is something that we want to be able to use. So make sure that you have that filled out and you leave that at the table when you're finished because that can be a really valuable resource for both the bank and our CRA committee in particular. But doesn't that just make sense? If there are things that you care about, let's look at those. Let's spend our resources there, whether it's volunteerism or whether it's networking, or whether it's something that we want to financially support. I think it's important that we, as members of a bank, are able to get behind that. So again, thank you for doing that. Yeah, look at. No, I left my clicker over here. Actually, Bruce stole it. I'm not gonna. The next thing that we want to do, honestly, in order to make sure that we feel connected to our purpose, folks, is the idea of core values. And what we want to be able to do is define what our core values are. And this is more homework than I'm going to give you. And there's only two, and this is the second step in the process because again, this is something that should take you a little bit of time. You can't just write it down, because your core value, again, those are things that define you. They guide you. They create for yourself the image of who you are, right? And I enjoyed putting all this material together, because when I got to this section, it gave me an opportunity to start thinking about some of my core values. What guides me and what defines who I am? And so I wrote a few of them down and I branched out. So for me, what's important to me, what defines me? One of the big ones was simply connectedness. I like feeling connected to my coworkers. I need to be connected to my family. I like to be connected to my friends. That guides a lot of my decision making. It guides what I do. Beyond that, another one was positivity. I am positive all the time. I am up, and I like it when rooms and I like it when groups of people are up. And if something starts to go negative or the tone of the room goes down, I'm that guy that tries to bring everybody back up again. It's important to me. It guides me. I like having that feeling. Another one is the idea of gratitude, and simply being both grateful for what you have and showing others that you're grateful for them. It's another one of my core values, and I think it's important. What I want you to be able to do with your homework is find those 3 or 4 things that you believe are your core values. Do that first. That's the first step. And then the second step is to discern, you know, these core values that guide me, when do I use them at work? When do I use them here? Because if I can find out when I'm actually using those values, I know when I'm being fulfilled at work. I know when I really enjoy doing what I do. And then the third step in the process is simply to identify, how can I at my job do more of that? How can I do more of what fulfills me and brings me back to my core value? When you do it, of course you're more connected to your job. You'll be more connected to your purpose and the purpose of the organization. So that's homework, right? Define your values. Find out how you can make them of use and that you can be those. I think that's good. Going back to mine, the one on gratitude, I'm going to touch on last year. And if you remember at the engagement sessions, I challenged everybody. I challenged everybody to be thankful. And I said, you know what, from here going forward, 1 time a week, every week, I think you should give a thank you to a coworker. Thank a coworker, because they're doing things for us all the time that we need to thank them for. But we need to do it in writing so that it's something that's real, and it needs to be a real and proper thank you. And I said that happens in 3 steps. Number 1, you actually have to use the words. Use the words thankful. Thank you. Number 2, you have to mention the behavior. The behavior is almost everything. Because if I tell you at the end of the day, thanks for a great day, that doesn't mean anything. That's somebody being polite. It doesn't tell me anything. It doesn't give me anything to reinforce. But if you let me know the behavior that you were thankful for, now I can attach meaning to it and I can want to do more of that. The third part of it is relay the benefit. Their behavior, how did it benefit you? And going back, I remember the example I gave last year was with my son Porter and mowing the lawn. It's as simple as saying, Porter, thank you for mowing the lawn. It allowed me to spend more time with your mom. And I travel a lot, so those moments I get to spend with my wife are very important to me. And it's worth thanking my son for. But it's a real thank you. Hey, Porter, thank you so much for mowing the lawn. I got to spend some more time with your mom, and that's cool. That's what a real thank you is. And if we're not, if it's something you haven't followed through with, or it's something that you've forgotten along the way, do it again. Start it up. Do it. Thank people 1 time a week, because I can bet you right now, you can think of 5 things coworkers did for you in the last week and a half that you should thank them for, or that you are thankful for, and start living that out. Because that thankfulness is a great way to live your life and to be able to inspire other people. And I want to show you a little bit more about what a thankfulness and a thankful attitude and how it can impact our customers with another video.
Where was the ATM at?
Canada. It was up in Toronto, Canada. No, it does some things that I think are really impactful. It shows some things in the video. The first thing is that the idea and the element of a thank you, yeah, that's important, but realize that what TD Canada Bank did, that was a promotion they ran. It was a marketing and it was an advertising campaign, right? And I think that for us, it's part of our culture. It needs to be part of who we are. It's what we do. Focusing in on that customer, because even here, guys, it illustrates that if you don't know the customer and you don't know the customer story, you can't help them in the way that they need or the way that they want. And I agree with you. Like in the video, it can't be huge every time. It can't be huge every time. But if we circle back to your first activity this morning, what's the best thing that you've ever done for a customer? Sometimes the impact is very, very large. But more importantly, we have 500 employees working here at the bank. And if every day, every time you are doing something good, you are doing something impactful for the customers, then very quickly we reach out toward our purpose and fulfilling our purpose as you already defined it, living our mission and living our value. The key to leave on, though, is that, one more time, it can't be something that we simply define and think about. It has to be lived out in action. It's got to be lived out in action. So the final thing we're going to go through, and what I want to leave you with, is, you know what? How can you make sure that you're taking action every day? How can you make sure that you're living your purpose and the purpose of the organization? And I've taken a cue from Steve Airy, who is the author of the Code of Extraordinary Change booklet. And what he simply said, and I boiled it down, was, you know what, at the end of every day, think about 4 things and simply ask yourself, did I do these 4 things today? Did I do them? And if you did, you can truly say, you know what, I lived out my purpose today. I lived out my purpose here. And if not, you get the opportunity to tell yourself, I need to work harder tomorrow. I need to work harder tomorrow. And the 4 things that you need to reflect on start with intention. Was I intentional in living out my purpose? It's simply, did I look for opportunities to act? Did I look for them? Right? Did I make it intentional? The second one simply means, did I find meaning? Did I find meaning in my job and meaning in my purpose? And I like this. It goes back to your core values, some of the homework you had, and it's simply saying, what is my core value and how do I use that? If one of my core values is I need to contribute, then contribute. Make sure you're doing that every day. If one of your core values is humor, then be the person that lifts up the room. Be the person that lifts up coworkers. It's a gift. Make sure that you use it. The third one, if you value connection, if you like to be connected, be the one that listens. Be the ones that listens and shares with others so that you can understand and you can be there with them. I like it. But you got to look for that meaning and how you can use that meaning. The third one is just making sure, guys, we got to be consistent. It's not something you do one time and you put to the side. It's not a promotion. It's not an advertising campaign, right? It's something that I have to do on a continual basis to reinforce it with myself. And I think the idea is simply in this. Never leave a room until you've done something to contribute. Make a difference or leave it better than when you entered. And it's thinking to yourself every time with every customer and every coworker, did I make a difference? Did I do something impactful, right? At the end of the day, make sure you can say, yeah, you know what? I did. I did. I met my purpose today. And the last one, it's generosity. It's being generous. And here's what it comes down to. Every single one of you, and I know it, and I've heard you talk, and I've seen you write things down. Everybody in this room, you have gifts, you have talents, you have skills, and you have abilities. And all being generous means is give them away. Use them. Use it, right? If you're the person that has time and others need it, give it to them. Make it of use. If you're the person that has skills, empathy, hospitality, or experience, give that to other people. Build them up. When you do that, when you're generous with the gifts that you have, you're living out your purpose. And you're successful. It's move. Move yourself to action. How do you do it? Focus in on 4 things every day. Be engaged, be intentional about it, be meaningful about it, be consistent with this, and make sure you're generous with it. And when you do that, and together, collectively, as employees of this bank, we do that, we meet our purpose. I'll go back to generosity. I'm going to go back to generosity one more time. And I want to thank everybody here. I want to thank you for creating and building purpose here at Tri-City National Bank, because it will make a difference for all of you, all of your customers, and your community. Thank you for having me in today. Perfect.
All right. Thank you, Dan. Want to wrap up with a couple things. First of the things that I want to communicate is that Craig, our bank president, could not be here today. Somebody, I don't want to point fingers, changed the training sort of last minute. So Craig could not change what he had planned for this week. So things that I know if Craig was here that he would want you guys to know is that this goes for himself as well as Mr. Pitts, our CEO. No one person at this bank will make enough of a difference for us to be successful. Our success does not ride on just one individual. Everybody's contribution, everybody in this room, everybody that's going to be coming through this training, everybody in what you do day in and day out, if you choose to do it with purpose, that's what's going to make the difference. No one department within this organization is going to help us succeed based on that department alone. It's every single branch, every single in-store, every single department, every single support group that we have that allows us to do what we need to do. Every single person in every single department is important. We always say this at New Hire Training. Nobody is better than anybody else. Nobody's job is more important than anybody else's. It's just that we all have different skill sets that make us right for the roles that we're in. And if we do those roles well, then we will be successful. One of Craig's favorite quotes is, "Extraordinary people do ordinary things in extraordinary ways." I don't remember who said it, but that is definitely one of Craig's favorite quotes. And it's true. It's not like these huge, huge moments that we need to think of, but it's the little things that we do each and every day. And if, again, I can't stress it enough, if we do it with purpose, then we will succeed in our mission, in making everybody successful. You as employees, our communities, and our customers. So, housekeeping issues. Please make sure you complete your evaluations. We do new hire training. We use them. We do any type of training, but definitely with this type of training, when it's all employee training, you know, we have this a shot once a year to do that. We want it to be impactful. We want you to walk away with something. So we definitely please take the time to honestly complete those evaluations and leave those for us. The other item is the mission and vision cards. Those are yours to take along with the materials that you have. I'm embarrassed to say this, but I need you to leave the pens because I've realized that Tri-City is going through a pen shortage right now. So I think we have 130 pens totally corporate wide, so it's a little scary because we usually keep 5,000 on hand. Like I told the other groups, I don't feel too bad about it because all of you went through employee benefits meetings last week. 400 pens disappeared then, so I'm pretty sure if I looked in your purses and your pockets, you'd all have a pen. So I think we're okay. And then, I'm trying to think lastly, am I leaving out anything? Yeah, definitely take the card and the materials with you. Leave the evaluations and your group worksheets on the tables. And then last, again, let's thank Dan.